Hello, welcome, Adriana. I'm so excited to interview for your success interview using Primal Trust. Adriana had a host of pretty serious conditions. I know that you suffered with a pretty severe mold illness, Lyme, rheumatoid arthritis, and a host of other things. And you are doing great. From what I understand, your recovery story is just one of those that everyone listening, you need to hear this because she's going to show you what's possible when you keep going and you don't give up. So, welcome, Adriana.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pratt. It's a pleasure.
I'd love for you to start. I just gave a few of your diagnoses, but I'd love for you to share like everything so that people are listening. They know like you really were in the thick of it, and where you're at now.
Okay, my journey the journey when I realized I had a healing happening. I started off 2013, but actually I was bitten by the tick most probably 1997. So I had been ill for quite a long time, even though I hadn't realized it. In 2013, my home was robbed twice in 1 month, and there everything flared horribly. And I started having lots of issues. I had been like extremely healthy, very sporty all my life. So I didn't quite understand what was happening. Obviously, as most of us, the doctors, they wanted me to see a psychiatrist because they said it was all in my mind, that I was really healthy and that nothing was the matter. So I started like suffering from extreme and excruciating pain. The joint pain was like the worst thing at the beginning. And once I was diagnosed, that would be like, well, correctly diagnosed, was in 2017. And there I was diagnosed with Lyme, rheumatoid arthritis, vitiligo, Hashimoto. I had mold illness and mold allergy too. Lots of food intolerances. The initial list, I think, was like 40 foods that I couldn't eat.
Wow.
I had I had absolutely everything imaginable. I had POTS, I had MCAS. Of course, on my journey, I did get COVID and long COVID. And I, I don't seem to remember, but I think I had almost everything possible.
That's a lot. And what's amazing is that I know that you're totally on the other side of all of that. So, spoiler alert. But okay, tell
Yeah.
us more. I don't mean to laugh. Like, it's amazing because you hear these diagnoses, especially things like rheumatoid arthritis and things like that, and people think this is a life sentence and you just have to take medication to manage it, and vitiligo and all of those things. Those are autoimmune conditions. So,
Yes. And I thought I was never going to get over it because it was like such a long journey, such a long
wow.
journey. And the only thing that I wanted was to be healed. But sometimes I lost track of what it was to be like healed. But I think that I don't know. It is really possible. I didn't see the light for in lots of moments. I thought that I was like extremely focused on trying to get better, and I knew that there was a lesson in this, and I didn't seem to. I always like arrived there, but nothing sort of pushed me to the other side. And I think that is what Primal Trust came made for me. It's that
Oh,
the last little like crossing over the river. I think that was thanks to Primal Trust.
wow. And tell us what happened when you started doing Primal Trust. What happened with your symptoms? What happened to you?
Well, I think that once you are in the program, everything Dr. Katz says happens. I was like really, really enthusiastic when I began. And the first thing about keeping the pace that you set for us as part of the healing journey, that was my first learning because I wanted to learn absolutely everything and do all the exercises possible on the first week. But
Mm-hmm.
then I realized that I just had one exercise to do during the first month. So I just did that one exercise and I went. Then there was this moment in which I thought, but this is doing nothing. I'm not getting better. And then came your lesson in which you said, well, this is the moment when your brain tells you that it is useless, that you're not getting better. And then I said, ah, I was like so relieved. And if I were to choose the like the lesson that helped me most, I think it
Mm-hmm.
was that one because there I learned that what I was internally feeling, I was feeling that I was like healed, but I still had all those symptoms. And listening to you teaching us about our nervous system, wanting to keep us safe in the sick loop,
Mm-hmm.
that I think that gave me like a totally different perspective from where to look at my illness at that stage and to be like compassionate with my nervous system. And even though it was tricky and it wanted me to believe something that was not there, it gave me such an internal peace to know
Mm-hmm.
that I was healed, but the only thing that I was missing was to give safety to my nervous system and to let it know that everything was okay. So each
It's
morning
so.
I run, well, I'm very sporty. I run, I sail, I do lots of sports, which
Mm-hmm.
I had to stop sometime during my RA.
Mm-hmm.
And in the morning at sunrise, I go for a run. And now each day before starting my run, I place my hands over my heart and I tell myself that I am healed, that I am safe, and that I feel healed and feel safe.
Mm.
So I'm
Wow.
just so thankful to you, Dr. Kat.
Mm. I love this. So you were doing the practices, you were feeling that you were healed, and yet your body was still having symptoms, and then you had kind of a quantum leap to have to make in your belief system that the symptoms were just an indicator that you're still needing to send a message of safety and that it's okay and that that's just an old loop, and then, well, what was the end result? Like what is now, like, tell us about the Lyme, the mold, the RA. Like,
Well, my doctor, the one who diagnosed me properly and helped me through the journey, he is in LA, so I travel there once a year. And this year in October, I started Primal. This year, no, sorry, 2024. I started on Primal Trust in May, and in October, when I went for my annual checkup, the Lyme test came back negative. So it
wow.
was like the first time in almost in more than 10 years of being ill that my Lyme is not there anymore. So I think that was such an incredible news. I wasn't even expecting that. I thought it
Yeah.
was just going to be like there and just sort of feel secure and not show again. But well,
Hmm.
it came back negative. So I thought that was like such a good news that my life, I didn't know where it was going to go from there because I was like free to live the life I wanted again. And that was like incredible. I'm not having any more mold issues, which I usually, when I went to somebody's house and I looked up and saw the black mold on the roof, I sort of felt that I had to run away from there. And now I know that I can deal with that. I even can sleep in rooms of a moldy house with no RA on the following day.
Mm.
So it's incredible, but I feel that I'm healed. Of course, there is like this internal journey, which I began in Primal Trust and of which I'm learning still. Because each time I listen to a podcast in which they interview you or something about a new lesson that you teach, as these beautiful ones that you're teaching now, and we have that victim mindset, which
Mhm.
sometimes comes back again, and
Mhm.
I have to be like compassionate and aware at the same time and see where that's coming from. So I think that we are on this journey to learn about ourselves, but it is so much nicer to know that we're on the journey, but without pain. So I think that was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Wow. So you were really just in Primal Trust for about 6 months before getting that reversal. That's
Yes,
incredible.
I did like absolutely everything. I was like, I wanted to get healed. So I
Mhm.
absolutely love all my toolkit. I do it absolutely every day in the morning, very early when I wake up. I loved everything. I
Mm.
listen to the meditations when I go to sleep in the evening.
Mhm.
I love the TRE exercises. I do like all the yoga, everything. I find it
Wow.
was extremely useful. And sometimes I find that physical exercises make me feel that I'm sort of doing the best I can.
Yeah, I love it. So, people that are listening, could you give us an example of what a day of nervous system regulation looked like for you when you were in the thick of it, when you were dealing with a lot of symptoms? Um, yeah, give them an example of your journey of utilizing these skills.
Well, at the beginning, when I started using them, as I told you, I didn't see any like evident changes. So, but I just kept on. I woke up early in the morning, like 5:30 a.m., because that was like the most silent moment, and it was a moment for me. And it was winter for me because I live in Southern America, in South America, more than Southern America. I live there, so it was winter for me, and I wouldn't go for my run until 6:30. So I had all that hour in which I started off with the eye yoga exercises, and then I went through all the tapping. I did the Tibetan rites. I sometimes, when I had a little more time, I did the TRE, which I loved. I thought it was so incredible. I loved that. And then throughout, well, the breathings, I everything, every breathing, and those were the ones that I mostly used throughout the day. If I needed help, I used one of the breathing techniques. And then at night, when I went to sleep, I put on one of the meditations. I loved the fantasy one, and that was the one that I used more frequently.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, well, of course, before I would do some of the exercises too of the different lessons, those I was doing each exercise as the lesson came up.
Mm-hmm.
I usually
Mm-hmm.
did those like at the beginning of the month because at the beginning I was really anxious
Mm-hmm.
to advance. So once I
Yeah.
was allowed to listen to the lessons, I just enjoyed them so much that I went through all of the lessons, let's say in the first 10 months, 10 days of the month.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just went through the physical exercises every morning.
Wow. Beautiful. So, some people think that you need to do hours and hours a day of brain retraining in order to heal.
I tried like different things, and what worked out best for me was that morning moment, that early morning
Hmm.
moment in which I was like 45 minutes, more or less, or sometimes an hour doing the exercises. Before, I had tried doing like 10 minutes when I woke up, 10 minutes at noon, 10 minutes in the evening, but I wouldn't find like the moment at noon. And sometimes in the evening, I was extremely tired. So I tried different things, but the early moment for me was like the best.
Wow. Beautiful. What do you feel like? I mean, I hear that you did the exercises, but your turnaround was so incredible. Like, I mean, people listening, like Lyme, mold, RA, other autoimmune, like the deep allergies, that's an incredible amount of turnaround. So, in addition to the tools, what was the mindset, the way that you lived, the way that you perceived your reality? What had to change for you to have that kind of healing happen?
I think it was a journey that had started before, like when I went to LA, my doctor, the allergies were getting a little bit better. The mold was getting, everything was like getting a little bit better. But each time I went back, there was something, and I asked my doctor, what is that thing that doesn't let me heal? There is this one lesson which I'm not learning because I do everything like by the book, and I'm not like really being cured. And I think that Primal Trust came at that moment in which I was, on one side, I was tired of trying new techniques and another new treatment. So I had to get around that to finally enroll. But I had had so many favorable comments on Primal Trust, my doctor being the first one. He told me that some of his patients were on other programs, but the ones who were on Primal Trust, those were the ones that definitely had an incredible turnaround. So that, yes, that, and the fact that I had a friend who was a coach, and she had some clients who had tried Primal Trust, and they were having incredible, incredible healing journeys too. So I said, well, that then I'm going to try it, of course. So I think that I knew. I think that what happened was, from since the beginning, on my first day that I had that pain, I believed in the healing power to be inside of me. I I didn't take like the chemotherapy. I didn't take the corticoids. I knew that the healing had to come from within to be like real. But I was getting like to the end of this journey because I was trying everything and nothing was like proving me that the healing was inside. And I think that is what Primal Trust like gave me. It gave me that belief in that my belief was true and that the healing was inside. And it was just the simple fact or the very complicated fact that the nervous system was dysregulated and it was like trying to keep me safe, even though I saw it as an attack on myself. So I think that believing in my healing power, that is what Primal Trust helped me a lot.
We speak about this a lot, that the healing power is inside of you, and you have to help your nervous system feel safe. But doing that is easier said than done when you have really real symptoms, like you had the pain and the mold and the things. How did you override the counter voice that was like, but? What kind of things did you say to yourself? Like, what would that inner voice, what would your inner coach be saying to help you regulate your nervous system when you had counter evidence that you were still sick?
Well, along the journey of Primal Trust, I used like lots of, mainly it was like sentences. For example, I tried to give my nervous system peace. So the fact of putting my hands over my heart and repeating things to myself, that helped me connect and like sort of lose track of my symptoms, knowing that my symptoms and having like that knowledge that the pain is just on your head, inside your head, that was like, that was incredible. I
Mm.
I just couldn't believe it. And the mold issue, I thought I was never going to be able to be in my garden again. I thought I was never going to be able to touch the earth, to sit in the grass.
Mhm.
So I did know that the beach, I love the sea, I love the beach, I love sailing. Well, I knew that there I had no problem with mold.
Mhm.
But once I was in a garden, in a forest, I had like really, I was really afraid of being in those places. And now I knew that once I was there, if I just sort of breathed deeply and told my body and my brain that everything was okay, it was incredible that it worked that way. But
Mhm.
I had tried that before. I had tried on my journey. Of course, I told myself, it is okay. I will see mold and nothing will happen.
Mhm.
But that didn't work. So I think that even though those were the things that I used to bring myself sort of to connect during Primal Trust, I think that all the exercises that are behind Primal Trust is what really makes the difference.
Mm. I love it. So you were able to bring a soothing presence to the moments where you were stressed, but the tools helped your nervous system to be able to respond to the soothing presence because you had been exercising the vagus nerve, exercising your limbic system, exercising the embodiment. And so when it came to the moments of like, okay, I'm here, I'm okay, the nervous system had some pathways, had the muscle to be able to go from tight to, yeah. And do
Yes.
you believe that by calming the nervous system that it has changed your actual immune response to mold?
Yes, of course. No doubt. No doubt, because that was the most difficult part. The mold exposure was something that I couldn't believe I couldn't get over it. Because I always had the feeling that I hadn't been allergic to that
Mm-hmm.
in my, let's say, 43 years before
Mm-hmm.
getting ill. I never had problem with mold. Never ever. So I knew that I could get back to that, but I didn't know how.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, Primal Trust made such a huge difference there.
I think it's a very counterintuitive message where when we get mold illness, we're told to avoid it like the plague and clean everything, and all that's well meaning. And of course, there's a phase where we need to do that. But what we don't realize is that it's not about avoidance the rest of our life, that it's literally retraining the cellular response, the nervous system response, the immune response, and that you can shift that. People don't often take a step back and say, wait a minute, I've been in mold before and I didn't do this. And yes, there was this mold in this building, and believe that it's possible to be around mold and to keep your function and not react. And so it takes a belief to not see it as all bad for the rest of your life in order to heal from it. And that's hard for people when there's a lot of well-meaning people, mold advocates saying avoid it, it's bad, it's toxic, and yes, and if you keep that at the forefront of your mind, you'll never be able to do what you did, which was to retrain a very severe response that to the point where it caused rheumatoid arthritis. and reverse rheumatoid arthritis through
Yes.
the self-soothing.
Yes, I, since let's say 2015,
Mm-hmm.
I just participated in absolutely every summit, every free summit regarding functional medicine doctors, regarding everything, all the illnesses I had, everything, and absolutely all the mold experts. The first thing they said was, you have to be out of mold. You have to be out of the moldy environment. If you live in a moldy home, you you have sort of to move out of the house. And I knew that wasn't possible for me. I live in an extremely humid country. I tried to fix the mold I had in my home, but I knew there was still mold. I opened the door of my house and there were all these spores in the garden. I wasn't able to move somewhere else. There's no desert in my country. I had to like move country. There were things that I couldn't do. I have a
Mm-hmm.
son, so it's impossible. So I at the beginning I thought that was like what was preventing me from getting cured, that I wasn't being able to move out of a moldy environment.
Mm-hmm.
But then after Primal Trust, that's not an issue anymore.
Wow.
So I think that, I don't know, I dare even say that maybe you could try, and even though you have a moldy house, you could try getting better there. I think if you didn't have problems before in that same house, why do you have them now? So I think the problem is not the mold, the problem is within us.
That's a very bold statement. You'll have a few uh, negative messages there, but I agree with you.
I know, but I think that those messages were probably what kept me from being
Hmm.
healed. So that's why I
Hmm.
want to say that.
I'm so
It
glad you
is
did.
difficult, but I think that you have to believe in yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to be willing to look at the whole picture. Yeah, you're reacting to mold. And why is your immune system so overreactive? Why is it unable to come back into balance and detoxify? What else is keeping your parasympathetic nervous system from being able to move the mold out? And and there's just such a strong victim mindset with the mold illness community, and I get it. I was right there, like you, and I also couldn't move out of mold, and had to really think greater than I felt. And I say this again and again. I really believe that you can get your function back living in mold. Now, it might mean that you still have a detox process to go through and you might need to take binders and the things, but I got my function back. You got your function back. You're living in a very humid, moldy climate. It doesn't mean you don't do things, doesn't mean you don't treat, doesn't mean you don't try. So I want to talk about that because I know now you went and gotten your functional medicine certification. Is that right?
Yes,
Okay.
it's coaching with coaching,
Coaching,
functional
functional
medicine
medicine
coaching.
coaching. So if you, as a functional coach, could help other functional medicine providers and coaches have a piece of advice for how you first talk to a client who does maybe have mold and Lyme, what would you say to empower, as a coach, as a doctor, what would you say to empower the patient differently than maybe what you experience now with after everything you've learned? How would you both approach the illness and keep the patient or the person empowered?
In my coaching program, we it, it revolved around giving the power to the client, to the patient, and not telling our story. So it was like, once I enrolled in the program, and on the first class, and I enrolled in the program to be able to help with my story, to help others not go through what I went. And on the first class, they teach us that it is not about our story, that we cannot tell about ourselves, and that we have to empower the client to be able to see it for themselves. So I was about to drop there and
Mm-hmm.
just, I didn't see like, how could I do that if I had such like a nice story to tell and to give them like the illusion. And well, and then I learned that the first thing of all is that the change, if they do not want to change, they won't change even though they hear my story. So I think that the most important part lies in giving them the belief that they can change. So I think that if I have a client that has Lyme or whatever, RA, whatever things, or all of the things that I have, I would definitely work with them with their life vision, and through that life vision, give them the power to look into themselves and find the strength and the belief in themselves that if they want to change, they can change.
I love what you've just said. This is sort of a tangent, but I'm starting a practitioner training program tonight for licensed medical providers all over the world. And as I was creating the slideshow for the first class, I thought about what is the most important thing that I can encourage these medical providers, many of them Western medicine, that they can do on that very first visit. And the slide that I created was the belief that these authority figures hold a seed of belief that they can pass to their patient on that very first visit that might set the stage for the rest of their journey. And I so wish that my provider was like, you have Lyme and mold and you have this, and you're going to have a long journey. You're going to have to take a lot of antibiotics and it's incurable, but like the belief that I left that office with was, I have a life sentence. And that was really hard to turn around because an authority figure didn't look at me and say, and I believe you can heal. And what you just said and your perspective, I think, is so powerful, and it's going to make you a really powerful coach. And anyone listening, she's a coaching, so check her out if you're looking for a good coach, because that I do believe our belief system is numero uno. I mean, you look at the studies of the placebo effect and the nocebo effect, and everything trickles down from there. So I know it was kind of a tangent to the success interview, but I just want to emphasize I think you're spot on.
Yes, and I think that the program, the Primal Trust program, sorry, I'm going back there.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yes, but I think it is really worthwhile. I would
Oh,
like you must give it a try, because I think all of us will find different things there, but I think that it is like a really solid stepping stone to being on the journey to healing. I think that it's everyone has a different lesson to learn from their ailments. So I think that there is where the program helps you. It has like so many different lessons, and some do apply more than others. But I think that it is such a solid stepping stone. For
thank
me, it
you.
was like incredible. When I read Dr. Katz's like list of things she'd had, and I saw that she had most of the things that I did have, I said, okay, this is a place for me. So I do really, I would tell everybody to try it and to believe in themselves.
Wow, thank you. Did you do level one and level two, or just level one of Primal
I did
Trust?
everything.
You did everything. What's your opinion? A lot of people will do level one and they stop. And I'm
Well,
like,
that was what
yeah.
I was going to do, but mainly just for because of the cost, because in South
Hmm.
America everything is like more costly.
Hmm.
But I just stayed there and I did everything. And now I'm doing like the level three ones, which I love. I absolutely love. I think every even if you do like just start just by level one, you can always go back. So when I was like listening to other people, when we could have like those classes in which everyone participated, some people just were like stuck on the level one and they hadn't yet finished the lessons. So I think that you have to give it a try. Start by the level one, and then you decide if you want to, or if you're ready for level two. And if you are, you can start it there, or they allow us to stop and to
Hmm.
come back in a few months if we need that. So I think that it is like so open and so helpful. I found that it is like, if you can, do all the program. If you can just start by level one, just start by level one. I think anything you can do there, it is like it is like so important for our soul.
Yeah. I,
And I'm
I,
not
I,
paid by Primal Trust. I just want everybody to heal, because that is what I wish for everybody.
hmm.
You can heal, so it's beautiful to be healed.
Did you attend the live classes as well? Sometimes?
Yes, when I wasn't working on that, because I have like a time difference, especially
Hmm.
with Pacific time.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sometimes 4 or 5 hours ahead,
Yeah.
so I could do them, but not all of them. But
Hmm.
yes, I did participate in all the things I could.
What was your, I'm trying to like get the word out about our live classes. A lot of people just come in and watch the recordings and they don't ever show up to a live class. What was your experience of the live classes?
No, I never. I think I must have watched one or two recorded ones, because I just, well, yes, of course, the recorded ones that were lessons.
Hmm.
But I did really like to go there. I I I had like, if I were to, I think that maybe uh, people like me that have like this story to tell from the other side, we should go in more, because sometimes people that talk or that tell their story, they are still not seeing the light very
Hmm.
much. So I think that maybe us going back and
Hmm.
telling them that it is possible,
Hmm.
maybe that would help them a little bit more.
Yeah,
But
I
I,
think
I
so.
loved the space there. I loved you being there. That's like the greatest gift. So I loved it. When they Dr. Kat's class, I tried always to be there. You
Oh,
have
well,
that
thank you.
special energy, so it's beautiful to be like live with you.
Thank you. I do love teaching. It's my greatest joy, as far as all of this. So I'll always hopefully keep teaching. I just want to say this interview is really beautiful, and I so appreciate all of your shares and your wisdom and the realness that you brought to like this being a choice of belief that you keep having to show up for. And I guess I just want to end with what wisdom do you have to share, like to people who, like, if you could talk to yourself 10 years ago, um, what would you say to yourself on this journey that other people might need to hear?
Well, if I were to just say one thing for myself, I would just tell myself that I had to be compassionate with myself. sort of being kind with myself. I was like extremely, I was very, very, very much doing like all the correct things that I had to do and doing everything that I could. I was always helping others too. And I usually left myself just at the end of the line. Now I have learned that even though I love being of service, I would just tell myself to be kind with myself and to believe in myself and my healing power because it is there.
That is so true. We get so hard on ourselves in this journey. I remember feeling like so frustrated, like, what am I doing wrong? Why is this so hard? Why did this happen?
I kept
Yeah,
saying to
and
myself, what am I doing wrong that I'm not healing? What am I doing wrong that I'm not healing? That was a constant. That I was constantly saying that to myself too.
yeah, I think that's a really common thing. And instead, I think you explained earlier, you learned how to just put your hands on, instead of what am I doing wrong, just going to be here and soothe myself. You know, you've turned into a loving parent instead of a child trying to figure out what they did wrong all the time. And that's one of the biggest turnarounds and habits that we have to continue to cultivate, you know, especially like being parents and mothers and all of that. Just the compassion piece. Thank you for speaking to that. And I just also want to give you a shout out because she's a brilliant jewelry maker. That's how we actually connected. I was on Instagram and I saw your jewelry and I saw that you were in Primal Trust and I looked at your jewelry online. It was so beautiful, like very nature oriented. So you guys should check out her jewelry. What is your jewelry channel?
It's my name
Okay.
and my last name too. My the other last name, which is Herrera.
Herrera.
So maybe if you put like jeweler by nature.
Oh,
So,
jewelry.
and I started my jewelry at the beginning of my when I started having symptoms because my hands they were so rigid that I wanted to do something with them. So because I realized that if I moved them, I would feel less pain. So I started on the
Wow.
jewelry. Yes, I started like doing jewelry sort of to heal myself. And what I suffered a lot was that my love for nature, I wanted it to come out in my jewels, but I couldn't go out to nature to be inspired and to look for my flowers and all those things. So I think that there was like the healing journey was completed too, because now I can go back to nature.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Well, thank you for all of your shares. Thank you for inspiring so many others and helping to shift the belief system about what's possible. It's been a
Well,
pleasure.
thank you, Dr. Katz. You are the one who does that for us.